methodology. Okay? This is very important. We talked about this last time. Okay? I'll dwell on it again today. Towards applying virtue and avoiding vice. This is the English. This is a definition that I was able to group together from reading many of the words of the scholars on the topic. So 4 components. And please, try to take note. Even if you never look at your notes again, the one who just writes something down or puts it down, they're more likely to remember it than the one who just doesn't write. That's just the way it works. So this is the definition of Tazkiyah. It's also, remember that the word Tazkiyah is synonymous with words like tasawwuf. We said that, although unfortunately today this word has a negative connotation for some reason. It shouldn't, okay? And tarbiyah as well. Although tarbiyah, the only difference between Tazkiyah and tarbiyah is that tarbiyah has the idea of mentorship and in there. So that's the addition to it. So tarbiyah is Tazkiyah plus, so let me kind of put that, it's Tazkiyah plus the idea of mentorship. Having a murabbi. Every person should have a murabbi, okay? Somebody to help them and deal with them and help orient them in the correct manner with regard to the different situations that they face in life, okay? Anyways, so we gave this definition last time. This is a systematic approach, Tazkiyah, based on sound methodology. This is important because somebody may tell you, why is hijab fard? Why do you Muslims wear hijab? Why do the women wear hijab? Why? Don't say modesty. If you say modesty, that is not the sound methodology. Because did Allah say, wear hijab because of modesty? He didn't. Show me where He said. He didn't say that. He did not say, wear the hijab, okay, for modesty. I do agree that He said one of the benefits of it, ذَلِكَ أَزْكَ أَن يُعْرَفْنَا فَلَا يُؤْذَيْنَ. So Allah said, one of the benefits is that because of the cover, you will be known as a Muslim, you will be known for your chastity, and you will not be bothered. You will be less likely to be bothered by the opposite gender because of the concept of hijab for both men and women, subhanAllah. Anyways, but the point is that if you fall into the ditch of saying that the reason why I wear hijab is for modesty, guess what the atheist orientalist is going to tell you? He's going to tell you, or she's going to tell you, well, what if I bring you a woman right now? She has her hair in a bun, okay? And she has very vast clothing. Yeah, maybe some of her arm shows, but she's wearing very vast clothing. You're saying that's not modesty? Wallahi, that's modesty. Wallahi, a woman wearing the vast clothing and even if the sleeves are just a little bit short and her hair is tied on in a bun and there's not that much makeup on, wallahi, I think that's modesty. So did we destroy the tenet of hijab because there's another way to accomplish modesty? No, we didn't. Why? Because the sound methodology would tell you that the purpose of hijab is the fact that one simple thing, Allah said so. Allah said so. That's it. Allah said do it. So my dear brothers and sisters, the idea of hijab is something that is a symbol of my submission to Allah. It's a symbol of my submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's what it is, okay? I'll give you many examples. Allah wants submission to look differently from different people. For example, does the scholar submit to Allah the same way that a non-scholar submits to Allah? No. The way that a scholar submits to Allah is by teaching. The way that a non-scholar submits to Allah is by respecting the scholar. So do you see, submission looks different within different roles. And Allah said, I want the submission on the woman to look this way, and I want the submission on the man to look this way. I am Allah, obey me. That's it. You see that? Now I have a sound methodology. So maybe that point is clearer. I start to learn the deen for the real way. Whereas if I learn it the wrong way, then I might have things that will hurt my motivation to to apply the virtue and avoid vice. I've seen so many people, my own aunts, okay, who they choose. I have an aunt that chooses not to wear hijab, for example, okay. She will say, well, there are many women who wear hijab and they have bad character. You see, that's wrong methodology. Who said that you only wear hijab if you have good character? You see what I mean? Like how that's not a logical conclusion. The idea is that this is sound methodology. We can. This is just an example I'm using, but we get the point now. So sound methodology is necessary. The more sound your methodology is, the more motivated you will be to apply virtue and avoid vice. So do we understand this definition again? I'm just reviewing, okay? So, inshallah, that makes sense. I'm going to erase this now. Is that okay? Yes? Okay. So, that was just a review of the definition. Last time, we also discussed the cycle of Tazkiyah. And we discussed how, subhanAllah, interesting this cycle was when we applied it in understanding the story of Adam alayhi salam and the story of, and also the revelation that was sent down to Muhammad alayhi salam. Okay? Let me see who remembers this. I hope that there are people here that remember this at least, because this is going to be the topic of our conversation for some time. So who remembers what was the word in the middle of the cycle, in the middle, that you always have to keep in the back of your head?
Self-awareness and evaluation.
Self-awareness and self-evaluation. Very good. Okay, alhamdulillah. Self-awareness, introspection. Okay, we said that it's very easy, it's almost instinctive for us to always think about the other and how we can criticize the other. We always forget to judge ourselves. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, عَلَيْكُمْ أَنفُسَكُمْ. On you is yourselves. Take care of yourselves. لَا يَضُرُّكُمْ كَيْدُ مَنْ ضَلَّ إِذَا اهْتَدَيْتُمْ. It should not harm you, the plot of those who are misguided, so long as you are guided. Okay? Focus on yourselves. The methodology of the Prophet ﷺ was أَصْلِحْ نَفْسَكْ وَادْعُ غَيْرَكَ. Fix yourself, then call upon others, okay? And remember, theoretically, we said that it's kind of 1, 2, but practically, you're doing both at the same time. So while you are calling others to goodness, you're fixing yourself at the same time. But you're not the one who is calling others to goodness, and then you completely forget yourself in the equation, subhanAllah. And we're going to get into those diseases today. Bi'idhnillah, self-awareness, self-evaluation. These are the words in the middle of the cycle that are always running. Okay? We said the first part of the cycle of Tazkiyah. This is the cycle of Tazkiyah now. Okay? Cycle of Tazkiyah. We said that the first part was what? Let me see. What was it? Ilm. Right? Very good. Okay? So the first part was ilm, which means what? Knowledge. You need that regular diet of ilm. And we said that the second part was what? Repentance. The sisters are taking the score today. Brothers, step up, okay? Tawbah, okay? Tawbah, which means repentance. And we said that the last part was what? The struggle. Yes, and what was the Arabic word?
Mujahada.
Al-mujahada. Very good. Okay? Al-mujahada. Okay? And we said between quotations, the struggle, which was, we said that it also included the idea of activism, planning, stuff like that. Remember we discussed the idea of the organizations and how there are different organizations that focus on each one. But if I am focused on knowledge, for example, I go to a weekend course, okay, and I'm not taking away from their value. Hasha lillah, I would never do such a thing. But if I go to a weekend course for Al-Maghrib Institute, or I go to Bayna Institute for knowledge, okay, and then I assume that my spirituality is intact. That is a wrong assumption. I need to make sure that there is something that I am doing, there is a curriculum that I am exhibiting to fix my spirituality. And the same goes for my activism, okay? If I am very active in politics, very active in relief organizations, can I assume that my knowledge is sound? Can I assume my spirituality is sound? No. So you see how it is very balanced here. We said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did that to Adam alayhi salam. The first thing He gave him was knowledge. The first lesson He taught him was repentance. And then He told him, now you're going to go to earth فَتَشْقَى. You're going to work hard now. With Muhammad ﷺ, the first revelation was اقرأ, read. And then the second was قُمِ اللَّيْلَ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا, pray in the night. And the third was what? قُمْ فَأَنذِرْ, get up and warn the people, activism. So you see how it's balanced. If you focus too much on one, subhanAllah, you're going to lose sight on the rest. And we said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when describing the mission of Musa alayhi salam and Harun alayhi salam, He told them what? He said, اذهب أنت وأخوك بآياتي ولا تنيا في ذكري. Subhanallah, you and your brother, what was their activism? What was Musa and Harun's activism? Go give da'wah to Fir'aun. Allahu Akbar. Do you want any better activism than this? Can you get any better than this? Can I get any better than this? No, we can't. Subhanallah. Go give da'wah to Fir'aun, but do not forget your spirituality. Don't forget your dhikr. You would say, me giving a lecture at IFN, aren't I making dhikr to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? The answer is, yes I am. But is that enough? No. Imran, if you actually, the scholars warned, they say, woe be to the one who is in the public eye, doing things, and there is no private relationship between them and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Woe be to them. They will be exposed one day. Subhanallah. So that's exactly the attitude of the one who is calling to Allah. I have activism, but that does not make me forget this. And I have activism, but I always balance my activism with a regular diet of knowledge to inspire and re-inspire and allow me to evaluate and re-evaluate. So I'm never decaying. I'm always learning. I'm always ready to learn. Always. Wallahi, I remember in New Jersey, there's a brother, old brother. His name is, he's from Pakistan. His name is Brother Shahid Mahmood. He's actually, he played cricket, I believe, for the team. Very famous brother, subhanAllah. Anyways, he's very involved in the masjid there. And Boonton, New Jersey, okay, it's about, you could say maybe 10 or 15 miles. It's almost like a 25-minute drive from a very big masjid, okay, in Patterson. Now, this brother, he's old. He's like in his 60s, 70s, okay? Every single day, I'm telling you, it's a 25-minute drive, 30-minute drive. Every single day, he would go to ICPC, which is the masjid of Sheikh Qatananu. He would go there to read Quran because they only spoke Arabic to better his Arabic. And he said, my goal, wallah, he's 70 years old. My goal is to learn the tafsir, every single word. I want to know the grammar of Surah Al-Kahf before I die. Subhanallah. You see that? This is somebody who's not, he doesn't want to decay. He just wants to keep learning, even if he's active, even if he's spiritual and he prays in the masjid by his house. He wants to keep learning, keep learning. Don't ever assume that you know. And we're going to get into those pathologies today, inshallah. Okay? So, is this a good review? Does everybody remember what we went over last time? I make sure to give a few minutes, at least in the beginning, to do this because we're meeting, twice a month, 2 weeks, you might forget something. So, I hope that this makes sense. Any questions about this, inshallah? Okay, alhamdulillah. So today, so today, inshallah, I want to just focus on, bi'idhnillah, I'm going to try my best to finish. Oh, I erased too much. I got happy. Okay. So, struggle. So I just want to focus, inshallah. I want to take each one, block by block, and talk about the different benefits to it and the attitude, okay? I want you to remember one thing. Oh, Jazakallah khair, sister, again. Thank you. So, I want to focus, before I start on each one, I'm going to go into each block and the different pathologies that can happen within each block. What's a pathology? That means a disease. So what are the different diseases that have to do with gaining knowledge? There are diseases, okay? Allah says, وَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ أَضَلَّهُ اللَّهُ عَلَىٰ عِلْمٍ. And from them are those who Allah used the gift of knowledge to misguide them. Allahu Akbar. Allah gives knowledge to people sometimes to make them misguided in a certain way, and we want to avoid that because now we're gaining knowledge and we want to know how to avoid that. So I want us to have a very deep and profound understanding of the goal. Okay? Understand our goal. Understand our goal. We define Tazkiyah, but now we really want to understand what exactly our goal is. And the way that you understand your goal, again, goes back to the definition. We have to have a system, and we have to make sure that we're avoiding what's bad and applying what's good. So with regard to knowledge now, within the context of self-development and tazkiyah, I want us to see what are the possible diseases that we have to avoid with regard to gaining knowledge, and what are the virtues of knowledge. We know them, and I'm sure that we're very familiar with the virtues of knowledge. You all know that the Prophet ﷺ said that whoever takes a path towards knowledge, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes easy for them a path to Jannah. Subhanallah. So we know the virtues of knowledge, but now we want to know what are the diseases that I can gain from having knowledge. Subhanallah. What are the diseases that can happen post-tawbah or pre-tawbah or during tawbah? What can I do wrong that will make my tawbah not as good as it should be? What are the pathologies of struggling? We want to take each one block by block and see the conditions of each one. There are 4 conditions to tawbah. There are 5 steps to mujahada and the struggle. And there are many diseases and pathologies that need to be avoided with regard to ilm. أنت تضع الهدف فالهدف يورث لك أسبابا. Okay? Remember this. This is actually the words of an Arab atheist before Islam. Okay? He said, you put the goal in front of you, and then the goal, okay, the goal sprouts forth for you a means, the best means towards getting to the goal. Doesn't that make so much sense? So for example, I know I have to go to IFN. Okay? I know that there are many ways to get there. I could go locally, I don't know, actually I'm not really sure. But maybe I can go locally, I could take the highway, I could choose a different highway, right? But because I know I want to get there, my goal is not only to get there, my goal is to get there the fastest way possible, right? So now, because my goal was more profound, if I said, get to IFN, okay, I'll go around the whole world and I'll go to come back to IFN, right? I got to IFN. But when I say I want to get to IFN in a way that saves me the most gas, now I have a very profound goal, so my means towards the goal is better, is efficient, is practical, subhanallah. And that's exactly what we want to do. The more profound our understanding of the goal is, the more we know, okay, avoid this, apply that. That's what we're doing today, inshallah. And that's what we're going to continue to do throughout the whole series. Backbiting, okay? How can now I know that backbiting is bad for me, so I will do work in order to avoid it, subhanallah. So let us go into, right now, some of the diseases of ilm. Okay, we're going to talk specifically about knowledge. We all know the status of knowledge, and we all know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, إِنَّمَا يَخْشَى اللَّهَ مِنْ عِبَادِهِ الْعُلَمَاءِ. Indeed, those who fear Allah best are those who have the most knowledge. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala praised the status of knowledge. He said, يَرْفَعِ اللَّهِ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مِنْكُمْ وَالَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْعِلْمَ دَرَجَاتٍ. Subhanallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will raise those who believe amongst you, who have good, strong belief, and then He will raise those who have knowledge even more. Subhanallah. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is now raising the idea of knowledge. But then again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also condemned the idea of knowledge that is not substantiated by action. Okay? And this is the first pathology that I want to describe. The disease of asking yourself, do I know this? And not, do I do this? Okay? This is disease number 1. Do I know this versus do I do this? This is number 1. Do I know this versus do I do this? You have to understand, we have to understand, the whole deen is a reminder. Isn't it interesting that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, إِنَّمَا أَنْتَ مُذَكِّرٌ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called the whole da'wah dhikr, a reminder. So what does it mean if something is a reminder? What does that mean? That means there's going to be repetition, right? I'm going to hear things over and over again. The disease that I'm describing here is that you're going to come to this dars and you're going to hear things that you have heard before in your life. But don't listen to the words that are being said here with the mindset of, do I know this? Because wallahi, my dear brothers and sisters, you know a lot better than me, okay? You already know a lot. But think with the mindset of, do I do this? That's different. Now, when you hear what is being said, you're going to say, I know I knew this, and I knew this for a very long time, but I actually really didn't apply it. Subhanallah. And now we go back to what we started with, saying that I want to face Allah, inshallah, after my death, which is very near. We all know. There's nothing to be scared of because it is near. It's just the reality. Subhanallah. My death is near. I want to face Allah, letting Him know that, wallahi, everything that I knew, I tried my best to apply. Subhanallah. That's the deen. There you go. Subhanallah. So the first disease that every single person should try to avoid with regard to knowledge is not approaching knowledge with the mindset of, do I know this? Because you know a lot. Okay? We know a lot. Especially, alhamdulillah, with Sheikh Google ibn Wikipedia. Okay? With the Sheikh Google, you know a lot. Alhamdulillah, we know a lot. The accessibility to knowledge is very high. It's very easy for you to access knowledge. Okay? But we need to make sure that we are not thinking with the mindset of, do I know this? We are thinking with the mindset of, do I do this? That's why Allah said that the scholars, they fear Allah most. You know why? Because they know that they are actually nothing. That is the knowledge. You want to know what makes a scholar and a non-scholar, even if they know so much, even if they went and studied overseas for 50,000 years, you know what makes the difference between a scholar and a non-scholar? Knowing that you do not know. Knowing that you do not know. And knowing that we are nothing because we do not do everything that we know. Humbleness, humility. Those who know Allah most, they fear Him the most because they know that they are going to be held responsible for so much. وَمَا قَدَرُ اللَّهَ حَقَّ قَدْرِهِ. How? We never ever could do justice to what we owe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I remember the story of Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anh, in the masjid, holding his sandal, hitting himself in the head, just saying, halaka Umar, halaka Umar. Umar is doomed. Umar is doomed. Umar radiallahu anh is doomed. What about Imran? What about us? Subhanallah. You see that? So that is the attitude of the one who really avoided this disease and engaged in this question. Do I do this? Do I do it? You see, this question, self-awareness, do I, not does he. Wallahi, I know someone, if they would have heard this lecture, man, they would have really, don't think this way. Think about yourself. Do I do this? That's the way to get it done. SubhanAllah. When you change yourself more, you will realize there's a lot more mercy that you will exhibit. Okay? You go to your son or your daughter. I remember, because Palestinians very angry people, mashallah. Okay, and that's just how we are. When my dad would see me getting angry, he would say, "Subhanallah, you remind me of myself. But listen, this is not good." You see, you're more merciful because you went through the self-evaluation process and you realized it's not as easy as we're trying to make it seem. Okay, subhanallah. You become more realistic. Whereas when you polarize these two things of knowing it and doing it, you will go to your son and the people, why don't you do this? You will not be merciful. You're gonna assume it's so easy because you actually didn't do it. You didn't do it, so you think it's easy. Or we didn't do it. I'm sorry, when I say you, I'm your brother, forgive me for that, but I mean me and you, okay? When we don't do it, so we go to the other people thinking that it's so easy. Why aren't you doing this? What's wrong with you? And then we say silly stories like, when I was your age, I broke the mountains and whatever, you know what I mean? SubhanAllah. So, you see, we start to lose sight of reality when we polarize knowing and doing, okay? SubhanAllah. So, that's the first pathology. The second pathology is learning to teach. The learning to teach disease. Okay? This is such a horrible disease. Diseases of knowledge. Let me put that here. Of ilm. Okay. So, diseases of ilm, do I know this versus do I do this? And number two is learning to teach. Okay? How many of you have heard of the scholar Imam Abu Hassan al-Nadawi? Indian scholar who wrote about the decadence of Islam, the decline of Islam. Why did Islam decline? So after reading some of his things, I put together just a couple of quotes in summary, because I like to do that. After reading a book, I write just some of my own reflections on the book, so I can remember, some of the, because that way it's more intimate to me, subhanAllah. So from some of the reflections that I wrote, it is said that وَإِنِّي قَدْ وَجَدْتَ أَنَّ أُمَّةِ اقْرَأْ وَاعْمَلْ قد تحولت إلى أمة احفظ وعلم. Subhanallah. I have noticed, I've realized that the ummah that is supposed to be the ummah of read and act. We are supposed to be, I don't have enough space here. SubhanAllah. I'm going to erase the cycle. Is that okay? I just really want these things to be, I don't want you to forget them, because they're very important. SubhanAllah. And we're not in a rush just to finish books. We want to benefit, okay? The ummah of read and act, and again, this is just my own reflection on some of Imam Abu Hassan Nadawi's teachings. Read and act, this is who we should be. Read and act has become the ummah of ihfaz wa'allim. Memorize and teach. That's all we do. Memorize and teach. Memorize and teach. I memorize the words and I go and I type a Facebook status. Oh my God, this is going to be the best Facebook status on earth. Or I just heard a lecture, let me go record a video and put it out and teach it. Okay, subhanAllah. I heard a nice thing, I want to, frame it and hang it on my house wall. Subhanallah, where are you in the equation? Where are you? Where are we? Where are we in the equation? We're supposed to read and then act, and then because we actually lived the teachings, then we can teach it better, okay? But we just eat up the knowledge and then we throw it back up. But where is the internalization? Where is it? That's a very big disease that occurs today, is that we're actually writing down these things so that we could go back to a certain people and impress them with the words that we have memorized, rather than impressing the world with the character that we have inherited from Muhammad ibn Abdullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Right? You see how that is so bad, and that oh my, it just, subhanAllah, it just takes away from the true value of the teachings that we're reading memorizing and teaching, jumping right to teach. Don't do that. That is a vicious cycle of memorizing, teaching, memorizing, teaching. No. Read and act. And then, inshallah, He will carry you, He will uphold you, and He will give you that platform to teach. SubhanAllah, I find it so interesting. SubhanAllah, and we're starting the Tafsir Surah Yusuf, inshallah, this Tuesday, bi'idhnillah. Even, the Chicago weather is starting to get on my nerves. So even if it's snowing, raining, sleeting, hurricane, whatever, we're going to come, inshallah. Tuesday, 7 p.m., right? Inshallah. So, if you can come. So, one of the things that amuses me about Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam is that when he was in the jail, look at this. Would you say Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam has knowledge? Does he have knowledge? Oh yeah, he has some knowledge, right? SubhanAllah. Okay? Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, okay? So, he has knowledge. When he was in the jail, these two random people that do not know a thing about him, okay, what did they say? What did they say? They said, hey, listen, we both kind of had some interesting dreams. Could you tell us the meaning of our dream? Inna naraka min al-muhsinin. We see you as someone excellent. How did they know that Yusuf alayhi salam, who is in jail with them, would be able to translate their dreams? Why? It's because wallahi, when you have knowledge, Allah puts it on your face. I remember I walked into the masjid one time, and I'm not saying I am that person, hasha lillah. I fear Allah to make statements like that, okay? But I remember I was in the masjid one day after Fajr, and somebody approached me. I just read Quran with them, that's it. I just read Quran. So somebody came up to me, they said, brother, and at the time I was giving khutbah in a small masjid in Jersey City, less fortunate area. So I used to give khutbah there sometimes, okay? So the brother came up to me after we finished reading Quran after Fajr, and he said, brother, what do you do? I was like, what do you mean, what do I do? Like, what do I do? I'm a student, I don't know what to say to you. So he's like, we have a big masjid in this area, and we need somebody to give khutbah, subhanAllah, and you look like somebody that can do it. I didn't even know what that meant. What, is there something like with my hairstyle that says that, I could give khutbah? I don't get that, subhanAllah. But the point of this is, don't be afraid. We are so hungry to teach because we feel like we're not going to be appreciated. We are insecure. And the logic of insecurity is satanic logic. You have to understand, you will be recognized for your talents when Allah wants you to be recognized. That doesn't mean you can't volunteer yourself. Even Yusuf alayhi salam said, "Ij'alni ala khaza'in al-ard." Put me on, put me as the treasurer of Egypt. But the point is that we are so hyped up about teaching that immediately when we learn something, let me go do this please. I want to speak. I know about this. Calm down. Don't jump to the mic right away. Just live it. Have some time where you lived with the knowledge and you made dua to Allah. Oh Allah, let me apply this knowledge. Oh Allah, I love you. Oh Allah. Oh Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, I love you. I love that you did this. This inspired me. You see, now you developed a personal relationship with Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and you developed an intimate, private relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And now, out of love for both of them, now you want to give it to the other people. I have treasures that I learned about the Prophet ﷺ. I want you guys to know about it. You see, that's a different attitude than somebody who immediately just jumps up and wants to speak. You see the difference now? SubhanAllah. So that is the second pathology, learning to teach. The third disease is what I like to call the keep it real disease. The keep it real disease. Keep it real is something like in modern hip-hop culture. What keep it real means is like, okay, for example, let's say we're all sitting down, okay? And we're sitting down in a casual gathering, and then somebody starts backbiting, okay? So let's say Imran, he says, guys, like this is backbiting. Let's not do that, okay? And I don't do it in an awkward way, because that's another thing. Okay, we can't be awkward. Astaghfirullah al-azim, I will not do it. Come on. This is not how you talk to people, okay? This is not the way it's done. You can't do that, okay? Even if people, no matter what people are doing, the Prophet ﷺ saw someone urinating in the corner of the masjid, okay? And he would say, excuse me, we talk to people and we snap our fingers like there are dogs or something, subhanAllah. Excuse me, what are you doing, subhanAllah, right? No, the Prophet ﷺ, he said, let him finish. And then he went up to him and he talked to him nicely. SubhanAllah. You see that? So anyways, going back to my example. Let's assume people start backbiting and then Imran goes, honestly, guys, like, this isn't the right thing to do. We're backbiting, okay? And then somebody who is my friend, okay, somebody I grew up with, they say, come on, bro, like it's not that big of a deal. Like keep it real, okay? Keep it real means, hawinha shway. Like, don't just, you're exaggerating, okay? Keep it real, keep it real. This disease is like Sheikh Qatanani used to tell us when we were younger, if you have a friend that tells you these things, like it's okay, it's not that big of a deal. Come on bro, we're not the Sahaba. I like to also call it we're not the Sahaba disease, okay? We're not the Sahaba, we're not the prophets. What do you mean? We're supposed to try to be like them. SubhanAllah, okay? If you have somebody that you know, a friend who speaks this way, the Shaykh used to tell us, فِرَّ مِنْهُ فِرَارَكَ مِنَ الْأَسَدِ. Run away from him the way you would run away from a ferocious lion. Okay? Because that person is going to lower the expectations. They are going to desensitize you to what displeases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So with regard to knowledge, don't fall into the ditch of degrading the knowledge to something that, come on, it's not that big of a deal. No. It is a big deal. Okay? SubhanAllah. The scholars, they say, and we're going to get into this when we get into the book of Zakat, the chapter of Zakat. The scholars, they say that whenever you belittle a good deed, it becomes greater in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not belittle. I'm sorry, I don't want to use the word belittle. Whenever you see the good deed as small, it becomes big in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? Not belittle, because everything has an impact, a big impact. Okay? But when you belittle, okay, or when you see a bad deed as small, no matter how small you think it is, whenever you see it as small, the fact that you saw disobeying Allah, no matter how small you think it is, as small, it becomes humongous in the sight of Allah. Don't think about how you disobeyed. Think about the one that you are disobeying. How great is He? Think about the greatness of the one you have disobeyed, not how you disobeyed them. SubhanAllah. Subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that is the keep it real disease, another disease. Another one that is kind of like a strain of the learning to teach is called, like, I don't know how to put it in short words, but inspired, let me put it this way. Okay. Aspired to inspire. This is another thing. It's similar to this, to the learning to teach, but there's a little bit of a different strain. When you're listening to somebody who you see as a role model, okay, somebody very influential, a sheikh that you love, a sheikh that as soon as you see his image, okay, his words just enter your heart immediately, okay? When you have someone like that, sometimes what happens, and it's a very subtle thing, okay? And by the way, these are things that, these are observations that I've made through my own experiences and shared with my teachers, and they gave me feedback about it. So this is something that I lived with, okay? SubhanAllah. That you watch this teacher and you say to yourself, I wish, I cannot wait for the day where I can say the words that he is saying or she is saying. You see, that's such a subtle disease. You feel like you are inspired, but if you thought about it a little deeper, you would have realized that actually the only reason why I'm inspired is because in the back of my head, I see myself one day teaching. And now again, you're forgetting yourself in the equation. That's another subtle way that the shaitan can whisper in your ear and make you lose track of the self-evaluation and the self-awareness that is necessary for you to grow. Subhanallah. So do you see that? You see that how subtle that disease is? But it happens. Another subset of this disease is to do this or to extend this to others. What do I mean by that? So for example, you see someone who you like their qualities and then you're inspired, but you're really inspired because in the back of your head, you have the image of your son doing the same thing. Okay, you see? You have to catch that. You have to catch that disease and just put it aside because right now, we're focusing on us entering Jannah. Us, me right now, first. Okay? فَمَنْ تَزَكَّى فَإِنَّمَا يَتَزَكَّى لِنَفْسِهِ. Subhanallah. Whomsoever engages in the purification of their souls, indeed they do it for themselves first. First. Subhanallah, okay? So do not think right now, oh my daughter, I cannot wait for my daughter to do this one day. Or I see my son doing this one day. Or I see my father or my husband or my wife doing this one day. No, don't do that. This is good. It's good that you want goodness for your children and everything. And I do encourage the idea of making dua at night. Oh Allah, I saw some good qualities and you put them in front of me and you know the mercy in my heart. Oh Allah, this is something that I cannot control. Allahumma hadha qasmi fima amlik. Oh Allah, this is the control that I have over my emotions. Do not hold me accountable for what you have control over and I have no control over. Subhanallah, this is the extent that I can go. So yes, I do see goodness and I want that goodness for my children, but, oh Allah, let me exhibit it in my action, so that in my actions and in my character, so that my children, by extension, when they see a role model, okay, they will act likewise, bi'idhnillah. Wallahi, nothing motivated me more to give da'wah than the fact that when I was growing up, my earliest memories of my father is seeing him in the masjid giving a speech, a khatira. Okay? Every Wednesday for years, every single Wednesday after Isha was his khatira to give in the masjid. I saw him do that every single Wednesday and that image stuck with me and I said, you know what? I want to do this. When we would sit in gatherings with people, he would be the one to say words about the Prophet ﷺ or bring ayat from the Quran and I said, I want to be the same person. Subhanallah. So that's how we inspire others. If you have that desire to inspire your children or inspire others, then make sure that you have allowed that inspiration to inspire yourself first. You will inspire others, inshallah. Okay? So that's the other disease. The other disease, and let me put it over here, number 5, okay? It's a very, very, very bad disease. Okay? And it is similar to the keep it real disease. It is the I'm fine disease. I'm fine. I'm okay. You know, I turned out okay. This is something we say sometimes, right? I turned out all right. You know, I went through this and I went through that and I turned out all right. Okay, subhanAllah, you can't do that. You can't say that. SubhanAllah. The I'm fine disease, I'll give you another attitude. One of the sisters actually in another session, she asked the question. She said, the way that you talk about Tazkiyah, Brother Imran, like it sounds like this is something high and lofty, like only the advanced should be doing Tazkiyah. Is that right? Is that right?
Everybody.
Everybody needs to engage in Tazkiyah. Everybody. Okay, subhanAllah. I'll give you a verse. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one of the ways that He described the evil people, one of the ways He described them, He called them فَمِنْهُمْ ظَالِمٌ لِنَفْسِهِ ظَالِمٌ لِنَفْسِهِ. Take note of this description from Allah of those who are evil. Okay? ظَالِمٌ لِنَفْسِهِ. What does ظulm mean? What does ظulm mean? What is that? Oppression. Excellent, right? Dhulm means oppression. Okay, explain the word oppression to me. What does it mean if I oppress somebody? What does it mean?
Extend your will on the other person.
What is that?
Extending your will on the other person.
Extending
your will
on the other person. Okay, forcing your will on the other person. Okay, but what else? Give me like a very simple, okay, definition of oppressing the other, oppressing someone else.
Taking away their rights.
What is that?
Taking away their
rights, exactly. So what does that mean? That means that somebody deserves, here's the cup of somebody's rights, okay? Here's their rights. This is a very funny looking cup, okay? They deserve up to here, and I give them up to here, right? I gave them less than what they deserve. So you deserve from me to treat you with respect. And I disrespected you, so I oppressed you. I gave you less than what you deserve. You work for me for 7 days, and I pay you only 5 days. I gave you less than what you deserve, I oppressed you. So look at the merciful way that Allah describes evil people. Look, He says, ظَالِمٌ لِنَفْسِهِ. You oppressed yourself. So explain it to me. You explain it to me. What does that mean? That means that yourself deserves this much, and you only gave yourself this much. Subhanallah. You oppressed yourself. You deserve more. You deserve more. Allah gave you Islam. He gave you the concept of modesty and hijab and compassion and love and justice and fasting and salah. He gave you these things because that's what your soul deserves. It's so excellent what your soul deserves, but you did not give your soul what you deserved. So it is the right of yourself on yourself to do tazkiyah. It is the right of your soul on yourself to do tazkiyah, to purify it. It has a right on you. On the Day of Judgment, it will complain to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it will say, oh Allah, He did not purify me the way that I should have been purified. قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا. Indeed, he or she is successful, the one who purifies it. You have to understand, there is that creation inside you. Yes, you do have that inside you, and you need to make sure that it is purified. Subhanallah. That is the way. That is the conversation that every single believer should be having with themselves. So because of this, you cannot say that I'm fine. No. Does purification ever end? Does it ever end? Did the Prophet of Allah ﷺ say, purification ended for me, it's okay, guys, I'm good now, okay, done deal? No. Did he ever do that? One of the Imam, I believe it was Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, at the end of his death, when he was on his deathbed, when he was on his deathbed, okay, they were trying to get him to say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. They were trying to get him to say the shahada, repeating, this is the sunnah, to always repeat the shahada around people who were on their deathbed. So they continued to repeat it and repeat it and repeat it, but he said, la, la, la. He said, no, no, no. Subhanallah. So they got so scared, okay, and then he became silent, and then he regained consciousness. So they started talking to him. They said, we were telling you to say the shahada, and you kept saying no, no, no. He said, I saw the shaitan. I saw the shaitan, and he came to me in the form of like a nice human being, and he told me, you're good, that's it. You made it to Jannah. You made it to Jannah. That's it, you're done. Now you can relax, oh Imam Ahmed, you're done, you're good. And he said, Wallahi, no, I will not relax until both of my feet are in Jannah, subhanAllah. I will not relax, even on his deathbed. So the I'm fine disease, you cannot say that, subhanAllah. And actually we're going to get into a poem by Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah, where he simply talks about this principle, that you need to always move. إِنِّي رَأَيْتُ رُكُودَ الْمَاءِ يُفْسِدُهُ إِنْ سَاحَ طَابَ وَإِنْ لَمْ يَجْرِ لَمْ يَطِبِ. Subhanallah, I've noticed that the dormancy of water allows it to become corrupted. If I leave water, it can become contaminated, right? SubhanAllah, a lot of things can get into the water. But a rushing body of water that's always moving, it will always be pure. Even if some contamination gets into it, by fiqh standards, I'm allowed to make wudu in it. Even if there's some little contamination in it, because it's a rushing body of water, always moving, always pure. Always moving, always pure. However, the D in dormancy stands for death. We die when we stop moving. We die. We spiritually die when we stop moving, stop progressing, stop evaluating. And how can you move? How can I move if I did not even evaluate myself to notice that I need to move? So the I'm fine disease with regard to knowledge, I look at knowledge, but then I don't look at myself, and so I don't think I need to move. So I think I'm fine, but we are not fine. We always need to keep moving. That is another disease of knowledge, subhanAllah. So your learning and your inspiration now are an investment in yourself, for your own salvation from punishment, for your own victory against the lowly nature of the self, and for the elevation of your character. This is the mission of the believer. I remember the words of the Sahabi radiallahu anh, who he was about to enter the battlefield, and he was a little bit hesitant, he was a little bit scared. And obviously, that's just the way it is. SubhanAllah, very scared. And then while he was about to go down, and he said, Wallahi la tanzilin, Wallahi la tanzilin, Wallahi la tanzilin, ma li araki takrahina al-jannah. SubhanAllah, he was talking to his soul. He said, Wallahi, you're going to go down. Wallahi, you're going to go down. Wallahi, you're going to go down. Why is it that I see that you hate Jannah? Why is it that I see that you hate Jannah? You see that mukhataba, that conversation, that inner conversation, it needs to be had. You need to have that conversation with yourself every day, every single couple of hours, every hour. It will come to a point that every single breath, every single time someone shakes your hand and compliments you, or someone shakes your hand and says and criticizes you, you just remember Allah and you say, yes, why not? Why not? This is a message from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the way that the believer understands life and understands the world. He understands it, or she understands it in a way to constantly evaluate themselves. I remember the story of the man, I believe it was Imam al-Hasan al-Basri rahimahullah, and he was about to pray. Okay, and the man made iqamah. Okay, he made iqamah, and he was about to pray, and he said, "Istawu, istaqimu, wa'tadilu." He said, "Straighten yourselves and align yourselves with the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Align yourself, become straight, become mustaqim. Okay, become straight." And then he just thought about those words after he said them, and he fainted. He fainted. Subhanallah. So they went up to him, they tried to wake him up. They woke him up, they said, "Ya Imam, what's wrong? What's wrong? Are you okay?" They woke him up and they asked him, "What happened? Why did you faint?" He said, "When I said the words, istawu, istaqimu, straighten yourselves on the line," he said, I said to myself, وَأَنْتَ هَلِ اسْتَوَيْتَ أَنْتَ فِي نَفْسِكَ هَلِ اسْتَقَمْتَ أَنْتَ فِي نَفْسِكَ. Subhanallah, what about you? Are you straight within yourself? Or have you aligned yourself with the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And when I remembered that, I simply fainted. I could not fathom the depth of that command of Allah, istaqimu. Be straight, subhanallah. So with this conversation, this is how we excel. This is how we grow, subhanallah. وَمَنْ تَزَكَّى فَإِنَّمَا يَتَزَكَّى لِنَفْسِهِ وَإِلَى اللَّهِ الْمَصِيرُ, or وَإِلَى اللَّهِ تُرْجَعُ الْأُمُورُ. SubhanAllah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says again that whoever engages in purification, they engage in purification for their own selves. That is the way it is. SubhanAllah. First and then later. وَأَنْ لَيْسَ لِلْإِنسَانِ إِلَّا مَا سَعَى. Indeed, for every single person is what they struggle for. وَأَنْ لَيْسَ لِلْإِنسَانِ إِلَّا مَا سَعَى وَأَنَّ سَعْيَهُ سَوْفَ يُرَى ثُمَّ يُجْزَاهُ الْجَزَاءَ الْأَوْفَى. SubhanAllah. Your struggle, whatever you struggle for in life, it will be noticed by the people. It will be. If you're struggling for fame or to be, noticed in the public eye, people will know that. Wallahi, they will know. Allah will make it clear, and then on the day of judgment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will grab this person and will say, didn't I give you a lot of knowledge? And you will say, and that person will say, oh Allah, yes, you gave me so much knowledge, and I taught for your sake. Allah will say, you are a liar. You are a liar. You did not teach for my sake. You taught so that it could be said that you are a scholar and you're pious. And it was said. You received your reward. وَقَدْ قِيلِ. You received your reward, and then Allah commands the angels, drag him by his face to Jahannam. Subhanallah. You see that? It is always for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I just want to leave you with some more words, bi'idhnillah, ending off the block of ilm. Inshallah, it is 1 o'clock. Salah is at 1:15, right? Okay. So inshallah, I'm almost done, bi'idhnillah. Yes, this concept. I want to draw the spectrum here. So everybody has these diseases down. Yes, any questions about these diseases? No? Okay. So let me just erase very quickly. Wait. So there are two spectrums with regard to al-ilm. Remember these phrases, very, very profound phrases, okay? Al-alim al-ghafil and as-sufi al-jahil, okay? These are two phrases that we really need to keep in mind with regard to the spectrum of knowledge. The spectrum of knowledge. Al-alim al-ghafil means the scholar who is heedless. Think about that. The scholar who is ignorant. The scholar who is ignorant. That sounds odd, right? Okay, as-sufi al-jahil means, or let me put heedless here, because that fits the context more. The scholar who is heedless, okay? And as-sufi al-jahil means the worshipper who is ignorant. The worshipper who is ignorant. We need to find a midline between both of these catastrophes. Okay? What does it mean when someone is a scholar who is heedless? What are they heedless about? They are a scholar. They know the ahkam. They know the shara. They know fiqh. Okay? They know that Imam Shafi'i said it's okay to wipe on the socks, and Imam Abu Hanifa said it is not okay. Okay? They know this. But they are ghafil. They are heedless about what? About their own self-evaluation and their own self-introspection. They are ignorant of their own flaws. They're ignorant of their own progress. They need to progress within themselves, okay? They're ignorant about their ego issues. They're ignorant about their arrogance. They're ignorant about their anger and their rigidity and their harshness. They're ignorant about their character. And remember, last week, we said that the goal of life is a word called ubudiyah. 2 weeks ago, okay? And we said that the point of our ubudiyah, okay, is knowing Allah And we said that the evaluation of knowing Allah is on the basis of what? On the basis of character, right? Exactly. Is on the basis of character. So if this person knows Allah, between quotations, and there's a scholar, knows Allah through fiqh, knows Allah through ahkam, and through shara', okay? But they don't show it in character. Do they really know Allah? Subhanallah. So that shows that, do I still have time? I still have time, right? Okay. So that shows that he is heedless. So what should he do? What should he do? He should, the antidote to that is the dhikr of Allah, private dhikr, and working on character. These are the two things that you need to keep in mind so that you do not become knowledgeable who is heedless. At the same time, you cannot be Sufi jahil. You cannot be somebody who is so involved and invested in tasawwuf, purification of the heart, and is a very nice and very, spiritual person, but you are ignorant. You need to know fiqh. You have to be well-rounded. The fiqh grounds you. It restrains the emotions. What is it that made the Christians end up worshipping Jesus, Isa alayhi salam, except the fact that they were so spiritual, but there was no logic and sound methodological knowledge to ground them. Right? Subhanallah. So you cannot be Sufi jahil either. Okay? You can be Sufi. You can be Sufi dhakir. That's how you have to be. A Sufi alim. Somebody who is involved in tasawwuf, muzakka, he is involved in tazkiyah, but at the same time, he is grounded with knowledge. Remember the cycle. SubhanAllah. So this is the spectrum that we need to make sure that we keep in mind when we are engaging with regard to ilm. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, with regard to knowledge, we will end off with these sayings, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Look at the miracle here. He said, if you do not know, he didn't say ask the people who know. He said ask the people who are in the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ. Because the one who is always remembering Allah, they will have good character. But the one who knows, not necessarily. You see that? لو كان للعلم من دون التقى شرف لكان أشرف خلق الله إبليس. Subhanallah. If there was any honor to knowledge without action, then the most honorable being would have been Iblis. Because he knew, but there was no action. لكان أشرف خلق الله إبليس. Subhanallah. So that's ولا تطع من أغفلنا قلبه عن ذكرنا. Do not obey the one whose heart has been shielded from remembering Allah, not from knowledge. Everybody can gain knowledge. Google is available. ومنهم من أضله الله على علم. Subhanallah. Abdul Qadir al-Jilani, who some see as a controversial figure, I don't really necessarily see that. But anyways, he said to one of his students, he said, يا بني, لو عرفت الله لعرفت بمعرفتك غير الله. If you really knew Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you would have known how to deal with the creation of Allah through your knowledge of Allah. When he saw his student become arrogant, he said this to him. And the final hadith that I will say, actually one more saying of one of the scholars, he said to his student, يا بني ما لي أراك في تعب وسهر وقراءة ودراسة وقيام وصلاة وزكاة وقلبك لم يبرح من مكانها. Subhanallah. He said, my student, my son, why is it that I see that you are involved in reading and reciting and memorizing and teaching and praying and studying and all of these excellent things, but your heart has not moved 1 inch from its original place. Subhanallah. It has not moved. You did not change. Why do I see that? What is he referring to? Character. Character. Subhanallah. And finally, the Prophet ﷺ said, من تعلم العلم ليباهي به العلماء أو يماري به السفهاء. Okay? كان علمه مقعدا له في جهنم. Subhanallah. Whomsoever learns knowledge, من تعلم العلم ليباهي به العلماء. Whosoever learns knowledge so that he may show off in front of those who have knowledge, or to debate those who are ignorant, to just be argumentative, his knowledge will become a seat for him in Jahannam on the Day of Judgment. Subhanallah. Do you see that? So our goal for knowledge now is clearer. I'm not gaining knowledge to show off or to argue or to do this or to do that. And whenever I see myself getting angry because that person mentioned the hadith that I heard before and I'm jealous because I want to say it before he says it, I remember, wait a second. No. Let him say it. I want to act like I don't even know. That's the style of the Prophet. The Prophet ﷺ, whenever someone would say a story that he already heard before, he would act as if it was the first time he ever heard it. Humbleness, humility, that is the character. The conversations that we have with our children. My son, did you hurt anybody today? Did you backbite today? Did you break any promises today? My daughter, did you talk behind the back of the other girls in your class today? The conversations that we have with our community should be conversations of character. That's how we apply, that's how we honor our knowledge, through the actions. SubhanAllah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us of those who hear what is said and follow the best of it. Next time, we're going to go into the 4 conditions of tawbah and the 5 steps to the struggle. Mujahada, bi'idhnillah. And then we will continue, inshallah, on that note.